Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I really hope you're doing okay and having a great day and an amazing week. My name is Effie and today the main focus of the video is we are going to be testing the Huda Beauty Pretty Grunge palette. I will also do the rest of my makeup on screen as well, just for funsies, but this is the main focus. If that sounds interesting to you, then please do just keep on watching. If you enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and if you like my content, please consider subscribing. I put up 2 videos a week and it's always makeup related, so if that sounds like your type of thing, then this is the place for you. But other than that, let's get on with it. Somebody commented on one of my videos asking if I would zoom in more on my face when I'm filming, so hopefully this is a little bit better. We're going to do one eye on camera, one eye off camera, and I'm going to start with the Beauty Bay Eye Base in shade 2 as an eye primer. I'm literally priming all the way out to my temples, and I don't know why, because I haven't even looked at the palette yet. I don't know what look I'm doing, but better be safe than sorry. I might as well just prime everywhere. Ooh, there's plastic on it. Should we peel it together? Beautiful. I picked up this palette as part of the Huda Beauty Black Friday sale that she did at the end of last year. Let's look at it together. Wow. Very cool toned. It is definitely more of a cool tone palette. It does seem to have one cream black shade here, which I might try today to be honest, because this palette does have a black that I can set it with. It's sort of swaying more towards mauvey cool tones in like this corner here, and then sort of like brown cool tones over here. So I kind of wish they were greys, but I can't have everything, I guess. Let's make a start. I am going to start with the cream black shade called Grunge. I'm terrified of it, to be honest. Ooh, that's pigmented. You know what? I actually don't mind this as much as I thought it would. It's going on quite nicely, and I think it will offer a really good base for a black eyeshadow, which is what I'm about to do. I'm about to cover it with a black eyeshadow. So I really quite like that. That's nice. And I'm going to take the shade Renegade, which is a matte black powder, and put that all over the cream just to set it in place. And theoretically, this should make it like the blackest black possible. That's pretty black, to be honest. It's definitely a lot more black than it would have been if I just used the powder. So I'm not mad at it. Let's carry on. Now it's a question of, do I go more mauvey or more brown? I normally go brown, so I'm going to go mauvey. I'm going to go in with this shade here, which is called Nirvana. That is a very, very dark mauvey purple. I did place it over the edges of the cream black shadow, so it does maybe look a little bit darker than it normally would, but I think that works really nicely to blend out the black. It's such a subtle sway towards purple that I don't think you'd really notice unless you were aware that I was using the purple. Now I'm going to go in with this shade here called Beauty Chaos. That shade actually works really nicely to blend out the other purpley mauve shades, which I like. But I feel like I'm going to have to use something to help blend it into my skin tone just a little bit. And I think I'm going to take this shade here called Love Anarchy, because I feel like that's probably the closest one to my skin tone. And just taking a little bit of that on a fluffy brush to blend out the edges has worked perfectly. Now it's time for a shimmer, which I'm obviously excited for. Let's swatch a few. We'll go for Maverick, Rebel. Ooh, that's smooth. Haphazard and Strong AF. I think I'm going to go for Haphazard all over the lid and then Rebel in the centre. Haphazard is really nice. It's definitely a purple toned shimmer which looks stunning. It's covered up the black quite nicely. It's not as sparkly as I personally would like, but I think it works well for this look. The shade Rebel is definitely more of a glittery shimmer, which I kind of expect from Huda Beauty. Her shimmer formula is actually really nice. It looks nice on the lid. It's definitely brightened up the eye look a little bit. Let me quickly even myself up and then we'll come back and do our base. Eyes are evened up. I kind of feel like doing like a full beat. Let's do it. Starting with the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer, I want a full coverage base. I don't know if this is going to help, but it's a product that I love, and maybe I just want to reach for products that I love today. Obviously going in with a full coverage foundation. This is the Primark Airbrush foundation, and I honestly love this stuff. It's the most full coverage foundation I own, because apparently full coverage just isn't really a thing anymore. Nobody wants full coverage foundations except for me, apparently. What's been going on with you guys? I feel like we haven't had a chatty video in a while, because I've just been sort of like trying to get content out, and in case you hadn't noticed, a couple of my videos have gone up late recently. It's because I forgot to film them and then had to like edit them very quickly in order for them to go up on the correct day, even though they weren't going up at the correct time. But drop me a comment and let me know how you're doing, because I am always interested in knowing. There's some people that comment fairly regularly on my videos and I love just chatting to them about stuff. So let me chat to you about stuff. I'm going to go in with the Huda Beauty concealer. This is the Faux Filter concealer and I have the shade Whipped Cream. I have tested this already. It's not my favourite. It's a little bit dry, I find, but it is very, very pale, which I like. I'll give you a quick update on how my life is going. I quit my job. I've been working in my role for like 6-7 months and I quit. I resigned. I've already sort of told the story about this on my TikTok, but essentially there was a woman in like a parallel role to mine that resigned before Christmas, and since she left, things just got very hectic. My line manager essentially had no time to like train me or help me or even review my work, so I was doing work without really getting any feedback. Bearing in mind this was my first job outside of audit, so I needed training. I don't really know what I'm doing, so it was just a bit frustrating to say the least that I was just not getting the help I deserved. On top of that, I think my line manager just became a little bit unbearable. I was getting on really well with her, but then I just found that when she gets quite stressed, she feels like she has to take control of everything, and I don't really like being micromanaged. Especially when she tells me all the time that I'm capable of doing the job, but her actions don't match up to her thinking of that. So I resigned. For cream blush, I'm going to go in with the shade Heroin by Cosmic Beauty. Before I resigned, I obviously spoke to like my boyfriend, my family members, things like that, just to sort of get their opinion, and they all sort of said that it sounded like I was in a pretty rough position, so resigning would be the best option for me. I handed in my resignation to my line manager and she told me that my resignation period would be 12 weeks. Bearing in mind I'd only been there for 6-7 months and I was still in my probation period, 12 weeks was a long time and I didn't really want to do that. So I spoke to HR and I said to them, look, is there any way I can do a shorter resignation period? They told me that the only way I could do a shorter resignation period would be if I were to mutually agree it with my line manager. However, my line manager was pretty reluctant, to say the least, to agree to me leaving early, because without me it was basically her and then the rest of the team. There was nobody in the middle, because the girl that had left, me and her were the two people in the middle. However, I spoke to the girl that had left before Christmas and she told me that she had worked only 3 weeks of her resignation period, which I personally thought was a little bit unfair. I will say I think my line manager liked me a little bit more than she liked this other woman. But that shouldn't really play into it. If you're going to allow somebody to leave after 3 weeks, that should also be an option for me as well, especially as we were in the same role pretty much and we'd both been there for roughly the same amount of time. I just thought it was a little bit unfair that I was being asked to do 12 weeks while she only had to do 3. Cream bronzer is going to be the Kiko Sculpting Touch Creamy Stick Contour in the shade 200. Haven't used this in a while. So I sort of spoke to my therapist and to HR quite a few times, because at this point my line manager was basically ignoring me, which is so bizarre because when I resigned she was trying to convince me to stay. She was like, what can we do to change the situation? Is there anything I can do to change your mind? What can we do to make things better? And I was like, I need more of your time and attention. It's like, I understand that you're busy and you're covering your role and the role of the woman who left, but I can't do my role if you're not reviewing my work when you say you're going to, or you're not talking to me, or you don't have time to discuss work until like 4 days after I'm meant to have finished it by. Like, it was just becoming a bit unreasonable. Like, genuinely, I had a meeting with her on the Monday. She set me work to do. She said I won't have time to review it until like 9:30 on Friday. And it was due at like the end of Friday. So if something was wrong in my work, I wouldn't have got any feedback until a few hours before it was due. So my line manager basically just ignored my existence for 2 weeks, which I thought was a little bit petty. And she may not have actually been petty, she may have just been busy, I understand that. But at the same time, why ask how you can improve a situation and then make zero effort to improve the situation? Obviously I told my direct team that I was leaving and that I had resigned, but it was kind of my line manager's job to tell the wider team, and she didn't. In fact, we ended up having a team meeting where everyone was in person and she asked, is there anything that needs to be brought up around the room, at which point I told the team that I was resigning. She didn't mention it, she didn't really talk about it, which I think is just a bit bizarre. So anyway, the team was a bit sad and a bit annoyed, to be honest, because my position had been filled by about 3 people in the last year. I was told by a colleague that one person only lasted 2 weeks in my role. So yeah, the last couple of weeks were just really bizarre. So I was talking to HR because I didn't want to talk to my line manager about it. And before anybody comments saying, why didn't you go to her line manager is her friend. So I couldn't really take it to him because I feel like my thoughts and feelings wouldn't really be acknowledged. And the person above them was the CFO, so he's too busy to really care about what's going on, in the nicest respects. Like, don't get me wrong, these 2 people were both really nice. They just had other priorities, which is fine because I could deal with it myself. Powder was the Reloved by Revolution HD Super Matte, and my blush is going to be the Revolution Reloaded in Rose Kiss. I feel like I'm dishing all the tea with my best friend, I love it. Talking to HR and I was like, look, is there any other way I can get out of doing 12 weeks? I was like a week into my resignation at this point and I was already like, this is not going well. I cannot do another 11 weeks. So I spoke to my therapist and I was like, look, the job is making me feel this way. I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I'm barely sleeping, I'm barely eating. I can't function, I have no energy to do things outside of my job. It's really starting to get to me. And she said, a doctor's note could help you here. To which I went back to the HR representative and said, look, I don't want to screw over the team any more than I already am. I'm due to go on annual leave at the end of February, the last week of February. As you're watching this video, I am on holiday in Seville, in Spain. So that holiday was already booked in on the holiday tracker, and I said, I am happy to work up until the 21st of February, which is when I would have gone off on my annual leave anyway, and then just not return, and that be my resignation period. And I even said, if my line manager is not willing to agree to that, I will be forced to get a doctor's note because I cannot do the 12 weeks that she's asking me to. It is so badly affecting my mental health that it's just not possible. My line manager had 2 weeks to think about this, and I went back to HR and I was like, any update? I'm assuming the answer is no. And she's like, your line manager's taking time to think about it. And I was like, how long do you need to think about it? Like, what's happening? 2 weeks after I handed in my resignation on the Friday, and I was just getting really overwhelmed, and I was going to call the doctors and get a doctor's note on the Monday anyway, and I thought, I might as well just do it today. So I called the doctors at 8 AM in the morning to get an appointment to talk to a doctor about my mental health and hopefully get a doctor's note. My boyfriend then pointed out that if I get that call from a doctor whilst I'm in a meeting with a bunch of people, which is possible, it's going to be a bit difficult to explain, so it's best to just call in sick and take the day off. Bronzer was Huda Beauty Gimme Sun in the shade Light. Highlighter is the e.l.f. Baked Highlighter in Moonlit Pearls. So I took the day off sick. I was feeling pretty unwell anyway. I had taken the afternoon off the day before because I'd actually been sick, which wasn't fun at all. So I felt like it wasn't too unreasonable for me to then take the following day off as well. The doctor called me at like 2:20 in the afternoon. I explained what was going on. I sort of explained about my mental health. Whilst on the phone, we also discussed my medication, and we have actually doubled my medication dosage. I was on 50 milligrams, I'm now on 100 milligrams of sertraline, in case anyone is interested. I really like sertraline, it works really well for me. And she also wrote me a doctor's note to sign me off work for a month. Now this was the end of January, the very, very end of January. And so this signed me off until the end of February. Once I got that doctor's note through, I logged into my work laptop, went onto my emails, and immediately sent it to my line manager and the HR representative. When I checked my inbox of my emails, 2 hours earlier, I got an email saying that my line manager agreed to me working up until the 21st of February. So it took her 2 weeks for her to decide, but it also only took her a day of me being off sick to realise that I was probably going to get a doctor's note and sign myself off. To which my opinion is simply too little too late. It was difficult enough working under her. It was even more difficult being stuck in this situation of like limbo, not knowing how much longer I had to work there, not knowing what was going on, kind of being kept in the dark, being ignored by my line manager. It just wasn't going well. Having spoken to my granddad, my partner, my brother since then and explaining what went on whilst I was in my resignation period, they've all said that it seems like it was the best decision. And it was. I'm going to do my lower lash line. I'm going to skip the blacks and just use Nirvana and Beauty Chaos under my eyes. So yeah, I got signed off of work, I logged off, and I haven't logged back in yet. I keep meaning to, but honestly, my brain doesn't want to. I don't want to open that laptop and like check my emails and see how many I have and things like that. My team that I was managing have been so sweet since I resigned. They organised a card for me, an electronic card that they've sent to me, and it was very sweet, and a lot of people left really nice messages in it. And I believe they also organised a collection pot and have ordered me some gifts, which is so sweet and so unnecessary of them. Like, I love my team so much. They made working there so much easier. When I told them that I was resigning, I made it very, very clear that it was nothing to do with any of them, and that they had made working there such a joy and so much easier than it would have been if they weren't there. They also said, is there anything we can do to make you stay? To which I said no. And I'm hoping to go in and first of all return my laptop, return my work pass, things like that, but also see my team in a couple of weeks after I get back from holiday, and I can say goodbye to them properly, which is sad because I do really like them and I wish I could keep working with them, because before working there I'd never line managed before, and they made it so easy and they were so nice to me and so sweet. So I have now been off work for about 3 weeks. I've just been filming and editing and going to the gym, going on walks, relaxing, sleeping a lot, to be honest. I need to get that under control. Essentially just looking after my own mental health, which is kind of necessary given what has been going on. I truly do think it is a shame that I can't work there because, like I said, I loved my team. I actually really enjoyed my role as well. Now that I'm looking for jobs again, I'm looking for essentially the same role, just in a different company. I have already applied for a few jobs. I've spoken to a recruiter. I've got a meeting with a recruiter after I get back from holiday to discuss some other jobs that she may have. And I'm just hoping that I can find a job that I just feel a little more relaxed in. I understand that jobs are stressful, and it's particularly my job. I'm an accountant. I get paid quite a lot of money for what I do, and in order to get paid quite a lot of money, the stress kind of comes along with it, and I completely understand that. But I just hope I can be somewhere that's going to take the time to train me and teach me and make me a better accountant. Honestly, it's been really hard to just not feel like a complete and utter failure with what's been going on, but I just remind myself that at the end of the day, I'm 27. I have more than enough time to make mistakes and change myself and change my path and things like that. That eyebrow is huge, Jesus Christ. Ignore it. I have plenty of time to figure out what's right for me and things like that. And also, as much as I have plenty of time, life is way too short to be in a job that I hate. And when I worked at my old job, which I'm sure I've complained about on here before, when I worked there, I kind of couldn't leave until I got my qualification. So I was stuck there and I wasn't enjoying it. And now that I have my qualification, I don't need to be stuck anywhere. I can change jobs if I'm not happy. I realised that it's not ideal to be changing jobs very often, but at the same time, I'm not going to stay in a job for the sake of it if I'm really not enjoying it. I feel like I can put up with a lot, but there's still a limit, you know? But there we go. It's not every day I resign from my job, but that's what's happened so far in 2025. Like I said, I am now starting to pick myself back up. I'm applying to jobs again. I'm working through things. I'm more than happy to keep you in the loop. Obviously, I won't be mentioning any names of people or any jobs that I've applied to or any companies or any recruitment companies or anything like that. I'm not going to be talking about explicit things, but I can give you an idea of what's going on. In case anyone is worried about me, I do have, thankfully, the finances to do this. I have saved up an emergency fund which would cover 3 months of expenses without me having to bring any extra money in. So I do have that to fall back on, and I am very lucky to be in that position. I am also very lucky to have very supportive people around me, my partner, my family, my partner's family have all been very supportive. They've all said that I've made the right decision and that it's not worth being in a job you hate just for the money, and that taking time off is what sounds best. But there we go. That is my look using the Huda Beauty Pretty Grunge palette. Let me know what you think. I realised I said at the start that this was going to be the main focus of the video. I feel like the main focus of the video was just my life story, which I apologise for, but it was nice to get it off my chest and nice to just talk about it. Let me know in the comments what you think of my situation. Would you have done the same thing? Have you done something similar in the past? I didn't say every product that I used, but they will all be listed in the description box in case you're interested. But yeah, I like the palette. To get us back on track, I do like the palette. I kind of wish there were a few greys in here, but I also do think it is versatile enough because you've got the browns and the purples and the mauves and the pinks. It's a nice palette. I do like it. I even quite liked the cream shade, which I wasn't expecting. I think it works really well, even though I completely covered it up with shimmer anyway. I personally wouldn't recommend buying Huda Beauty palettes when they're on full price. If they're on a discount, then sure, I think they're really good quality and potentially worth it if you really enjoy the colour story. I have 3 Huda Beauty palettes. This is my 3rd one. I also have the Empowered palette and the Mercury Retrograde. There has been other palettes like the Rose Quartz palette and the, what's the most recent one, the Icy palette. They don't really appeal to me. I like the darker palettes. And from what I've heard, I think Huda Beauty won't be releasing these sort of like bigger palettes anymore. Interesting. Very, very interesting. But yeah, I do like this one. I think this one's nice. I also like the other 2 that I have. I think her quality is always really, really good. So if you can find a colour scheme that works for you and that you like the look of, then I do recommend them because they're going to work well. What a mess of a video, hey? But there we go. That's what's been going on in my life. Feel free to let me know what's been going on in yours as well. I'd always be interested in knowing that. But anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you like my content, please consider subscribing. I put up 2 videos a week and it's always makeup related. And if that sounds like your type of thing, then this is the place for you. I don't always ramble so much in videos in case you were worried about that. So most of the time it is just about the makeup. But occasionally I do let you in on my life because I feel like that's important. I'll let you go. Have a great day, an amazing week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.